Hello and welcome to Walking Through Advent with us.
The hashtag Holy Hackets.
And also some other brilliant people that are going to be contributing as we go through. This is our attempt at a mini-series, really, at trying to be creative, looking at the Christmas story through the lens of 21st century characters. It just feels really important that as Christians we share our faith stories, share our experiences of life with one another. And so that's really what we're going to be doing through Advent.
So during this series, we're going to be looking at 5 different characters. We're looking at Mary, at Joseph, at the shepherds, at King Herod, boo hiss, and at the Magi. And thinking about some of the people in our 21st century world that might relate to something of their stories. As we do this, we don't just want it to be our special guest stories that we hear, but we also want to hear from all of you. So if you feel able and comfortable to, we'd love you to share some of your stories and experiences in the comments during or after the video.
I don't know about all of you, but 2020 didn't really go the way that we thought it was going to be. We've had to be creative and reimagine and rethink all sorts of things for this year, and Advent feels like one of them. But actually, we feel a bit like sometimes we rush through Advent so quickly. We're so focused on Christmas Day, on planning dinner, who's coming to dinner, of course, this year, which bubble will we be in? Thinking about presents, like Jez is so hard to buy for. And already thinking about decorating the Christmas tree. We bought our decorations weeks ago, which is really bad. So really this year, this series is a time to focus, to breathe, to watch and to wait through Advent together.
And so as we watch and engage with these stories together, as we explore some of those questions, let's be challenged, encouraged and transformed by the God who encounters us through the incarnation of Jesus Christ, our Saviour.
The wise men are often known for their terrible present giving and their following of a bright star. But what is often missed out of their story is that they are a nomadic people. They are folk who travel around and are always on the move, who don't necessarily have a place to return to or have the comfort of calling home. Due to coronavirus, the wise men are facing a travel ban this year, so couldn't be with us. But we are going to hear from Juliana and Heine and something of their experiences as wanderers looking for home.
In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it has been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men, and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road.
My name is Heine. I was born and raised in Slovakia, and I came to England. I started as an au pair in different families, but particular one of them are close to my heart and keep in touch with them. During these 16 years which I lived in England, I learned to rely on God's leading in this completely new and big country. Also, biggest barrier was the language. So I attended language class in Barry Adult Education Center. I was working in retail, and later on I met with my Hungarian husband through the internet. And we have had 3 sons in our family, and the second one has already departed to the eternal home with Jesus 5.5 year ago. Within the church setting, I have recently been leading Tiny Tots toddler group twice a week.
My name is Juliana Jambaya. I'm married to George Gift Jambaya. It's now 35 years together. I am from Zimbabwe, Harare, which is the capital city. We all have villages, obviously, where we come from, our birthright, or, where our either grandfathers or great-grandfathers, grandmothers come from, and that's what we call home. I've got 2 children. They are both grown-ups now. I'm a nurse in England. I trained here at Salford Uni. I've been a nurse now for almost 20 years, and I enjoy my job. It's like a calling. So I thought I would prefer a 9-to-5 job, but however, the calling kept saying you need to be a nurse. And the only way I wanted international recognition, and that's the reason why I came to England to train as a nurse. It was very painful, very painful. You are excited because you have your place to train, but when the reality comes, and because I came as a mature student, leaving my children was the worst part of it. But anyway, I thought once I finish my training, I'll be going to Zimbabwe. Unfortunately, 2000, that's when things started going really bad for Zimbabweans and our country, and it wasn't a safe place to go back to. Anyway, when I came to England, it was like a culture shock, because in Zimbabwe, we always believe that when you are in England, what we see in books is what we thought was England. Being a former colony as well and under the Queen, so all the nice books were coming to Zimbabwe, and you would look forward to coming to England. When you are with your Christian friends, fellowship, you see it's more of what we do at home. But when you are with non-Christians, there is quite a difference in, like a family hierarchy, because in Zimbabwe it's family-centered and hierarchy as well, where either a grandfather, uncles, you respect them as your parents, and neighbors as well. If a neighbor's child misbehaves, I can discipline them before the parents come, but you can't do that here. The weather as well. We have places in Zimbabwe which are more like this weather, especially where my husband comes from. But it's not as cold as this weather. It's raining all the time. It's green all the time. So with the rains, I wasn't shocked much, but it's the cold. It was something which I never, ever expected.
The main reason why I came to England was the opportunity and the adventure of a new world being open to me. My fear was the uncertainty, not knowing what is this new world be like. But that's where my faith in God stepped in. The central value of Christmas has always been Jesus, not Father Christmas. The only time we had Santa, it was the 6th of December, and it's the 6th of December, and we call him St. Nikolaus or Mikulás in Hungarian. And we had to clean our shoes and leave them on the windowsill, and the St. Nikolaus would go around the houses, peeping through the windows, and if you had been good, and then he would leave you some fruits like satsumas, mandarin, and some sweets. And if you weren't good, then a bunch of sticks. So at Christmas, we sang a lot of carols as family and community, not just as a church.
The way Easter, Christmas is celebrated also was a shock to me. I know we give each other presents at home, but it's not like out of character or very material. It could be just giving your next neighbor. If you are a farmer, you would give them your sweet potatoes. If you know, anything just to say it's Christmas time, we are sharing. All I know is children like to wear new clothes in Zimbabwe, and that's always there. You know, people get clothes in Christmas time. So if you wanted to promise your child good things, you say, if you behave, you have a new dress for Christmas. And mostly kids, because Christmas you go to church, they want to go in new clothes, new shoes, new dress, new suit. To them, that's what they call Christmas: sweets, cakes, and good food. Normally it's not like you start November, or it's the few days before Christmas you prepare. We do cakes as well, but mostly if it's in the village, Christmas is, for Zimbabweans, it's really good when it's in the villages where all the whole clan is there, and that's what we call Christmas.
Excellent.
And it can go for 2-3 days. In that personal pressure wasn't that too much, because I had that exposure in my school. Even the food, you'll be surprised that food which we eat here, fried chips, fish and chips, we used to have that at the boarding school I went to. But it's not always everyone had the privilege to go to a multiracial school. If I didn't go to that school, everything would have been really new to me.
It's quite easy to continue the culture of upbringing. For example, Hungarian food, we cook Hungarian recipes such gulyás from time to time at home. We learned there is a local Polish shop, which is where we get the Hungarian and Slovakian ingredients. Also, every year there is a 3-day festival called Gobe Fest, where is folk dancing and traditional Hungarian songs. And that time I feel my heart is pounding and a little homesick. But we are very fortunate to have these things locally where we can a bit of nostalgia. I don't feel any pressure to let go of my Slovak Hungarian culture, but there are many times I feel pressure to fit in with people expectation. This is not because I'm Slovakian, but because I chose to follow Jesus. The real conflict is not between the ways of different cultures, but between the way of the word and the way of Jesus. And that where is the pressure to fit in is.
I would say in Zimbabwe, if you are asking for something, if I say, can I have your pen? Normally we don't say please. The smile, the way, the attitude shows that I'm asking with that please, you see. And the way we say thank you, like, but normally we use, body language mostly in Zimbabwe. Whether you are asking for something, it's more of the body language, and saying thank you, it's more of, we do this in Zimbabwe. So sometimes I would forget to say please, and people would say, oh, she's so rude. Not knowing, I would have thought, like I've used my body language and that's enough. We are more of very tactile people. Here I found people don't want to be touched. People don't want a closer distance. At home, there's nothing, you're invading my space. You see, we are just all together. And also at home, you greet every stranger you see. You don't just pass a person, but here I found that people are more reserved. You can only greet those who you know. At home, older people are valued, that even if they get very old, they are nursed in the villages. There's always a relative closer, maybe if it's like a grandma from their family, there could be someone who's a widow and is happy to come and help. Sometimes when you are praying for some reason, there are times when you feel when you pray in your language, the Holy Spirit, you can speak in your own language. And it's very important for like people in their 50 and above, because that's what they were used to. But you find the young ones, when it's their turn to preach, they'll preach in English, which we understand as well, because English is the official language in Zimbabwe.
The difference is back in Slovakia, and there were lots of expectations and rituals within a church services. So little sense of freedom. If you raise your hand in praise, you would certainly get the people looking at you as if you would have done something wrong. Also, children had to stay in a church services because there was no Sunday school. So in Prestwich Methodist Church, I found quite refreshing to be able to praise God more openly.
The churches, I would say generally in Zimbabwe, they are quite live churches. When it's time to sing, it has to be body language, jubilation. There's no way where you just sing quietly, unless it's a choir in front of us. But even the choir, you see. And also the difference is you use, like here they use an organ. In Zimbabwe, we use whatever we have, the organic there. So our instruments are homemade in Zimbabwe. We use these. They are very important when we are singing. It brings that melody that, with that, and the drums. In Shona, we call it, the drum is ngoma. Then this rattle is wosho. So you hear people saying ngoma ne wosho. Then people start, playing the drums. It gives that rhythm and also the dancing. And that's what we call proper singing for the Lord in jubilation. We don't sing standing. These women, they are it's like I would put it as mothers' union. In Zimbabwe, it's called Ruadzano. In Shona, then Ndebele, Manyano. It gives us an opportunity to meet as Zimbabweans. We don't forget where we come from. So it's not only about praying and being together as a fellowship. It's also about looking after the ministers, mostly those who have retired, the widows who have been left, and also those who are working in Zimbabwe, preaching or going to pray for those who are ill. We also use this as a time opportunity to learn how to be good Christian mothers, how to help others. Even here, it could be your neighbor, just to show them you're a Christian, engaging with them so that they can see you're a Christian. And how to bring up our children as well. The men have their own group, which is called Men's Christian Fellowship, or MCU. They do also, they have their own, like learning as well. It's more of evangelism as well. They visit the sick as well. Now it's all done on Zoom. We had our own church, a visitation through Zoom for George. They even came to the care home, the men. They are more vibrant even than the women.
Home means two things to me. Although my family in here in Manchester is my home, people have noticed that I still call Slovakia my home.
A place where you feel the comfort, you are free to do what you want, a place where you would long to be. Wherever you go, you want to go back to that place. A place where you have good neighbors, you can talk to your neighbors, a place where other people can come and feel comfortable, where you can have issues but easily resolved, how long it takes. And it has to be a prayerful place where either you are seeking God to thank Him for whatever blessings, or to pray to God for whatever is worrying you, or you can be quiet as well, in a way of just linking yourself with God. And where family always come, whether it's grandchildren or it's aunties, uncles, friends, and they feel at home. I would say the current life, home is England, in the sense that that's where we are living now. We have been here more than 20 years now, and if we go to Zimbabwe, we'll be lost. We can go to visit because our relatives are still there, but home now is England. We have our children here, we are settled here, we have good friends. This is our home. This is what we call home now. As Zimbabwe, when we are going as visitors.
How do you feel when you go on holiday to another country with a different language and culture? Do you feel welcomed or out of place? What does home mean to you? Is it a place or a person? In what ways can we be a community that truly welcomes all and extends radical hospitality to both stranger and friend, offering them a home wherever they may have come from?
I'm going to pray in our language, which is Shona. Mwari Baba namasimba ose, panguva ino yemasikati toda kutendai Jehovha nekuti taona minista vachiuya mukati memba yedu, which is a blessing kwatiri. Toda kutenda makomborero avaunza mukati memba ino. Toda kutenda upenyu hwedu tiri mukati menyika ino yeEngland. Toda kutenda shamwari dzedu dzemuEngland. Toda kutenda mabasa amakatipa. Toda kutenda mhuri dzamakatipa nevazukuru Panguva ino tiri kutenda utano as well. Tiri kutenda Jehovha kutichengetedza kwamunoita nguva dzese. Panguva ino taakunamatirawo chechi yedu yePrestwich nevese vanopinda muPrestwich kuti imi Mwari vhurai mwoyo yavo, muvakomborere uye muvachengetedze pautano hwavo, uye muvape zvavanoshuvira nguva dzese. Tinotenda nenyasha yemwambo wedu Jesu Kristu tenzi wedu. Amen.
And now I'm going to say a blessing in Hungarian. Áldjon meg téged az Úr, és őrizzen meg téged. Ragyogtassa rád orcáját az Úr, és könyörüljön rajtad. Fordítsa feléd orcáját az Úr, és adjon neked békességet. Amen.
Blessed are the wanderers, the travellers, for they will find rest, sanctuary, welcome, and a sense of home in God's house, wherever they may be.